Welcome everyone to the fifth episode of AYP's webinar series on Southeast Asia business expansion anytime, anywhere with PEO or EOR. So I'm Clarence, your facilitator for today. So while we wait for most of the audience to come in, I'd like to take the opportunity to ask some questions to understand our audience a bit. I see that we have some people coming in already. So I'll be asking using the poll function of Zoom. So please select the answer that you think is appropriate. So I'll be launching the first question. I basically would just like to understand which country are all of you from. So we have a few options. We have people from Singapore, Thailand, India, Australia, US, Japan, Hong Kong, China, UK, or if you're under others. All right, I'll give another 5 seconds and I'll close the poll now. So it seems that we have mainly people from Hong Kong and others. For those of you who are others, please do share with me where you are from via the chat function. All right, so on to the next question. Basically, I'd like to understand which department are you from. So whether you're from management, HR, payroll, finance, or others. And I'll give the remaining people another 5 seconds just to answer. And I'll close the poll now. Right, so I see that mainly we have most of the people from management with some from payroll and finance. So that's interesting. For those of you who are in finance, you definitely might not have encountered PEO service before. For those who are in the management, this session will definitely be very helpful since we'll be talking about business expansion using PEO service. And for those of you who are from payroll, I guess some of you might have experience working with PEO service providers. So I have the next question that I'd like to find out is, which are your top 3 most challenging HR functions to manage? So these are multiple choice. Select 3 of them. So there are quite a few options. We have HR planning, payroll and tax administration, recruitment, HR operations and compliance, employee benefits, mobility and relocation, compensations and claims, and work pass management. So as there are quite a few options for you to read and consider, I'll give you all more time. But please select 3 which are your top 3 most challenging HR functions. And I'll close the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right. So I'll share the results. It seems that most of you will consider payroll and tax administration and HR operations and compliance to be the most challenging. It looks quite evenly split, and followed by other issues like employee benefits, mobility and relocation, and work pass. So here's a little tidbit of information that we found out that we would like to share with you. So according to a report researched by Society for HR Management, it was actually found that executing HR processes smoothly and efficiently ranked first, with 69% interviewees finding that to be the most challenging HR function. And then followed by moving HR from a transactional to transformation role, coming in at second with 44%. And third, we have the growing complexity of legal compliance to be the third most difficult problem at 41%. But it was actually surprising that 48%, majority of the people, felt that the growing complexity of legal compliance would be the most challenging issue in the next 10 years. So of all that, despite the different issues, the currently third most challenging one will actually be the most challenging issue in the next 10 years. And one of the reasons could be that the impact of digitalization and COVID-19 brings about new HR legal challenges as a result of legislative changes that has been happening across Southeast Asia. So many companies now have to adapt to new policies on flexible working arrangements and data privacy protection. In fact, in the last 5 years, organizations across APAC have paid penalties of up to 1.24 million USD for being non-compliant in payroll. So this is information which I think some of our people from payroll department would have an interest to know. So moving on, I'd like to ask the fourth question. Which do you think will be the most challenging for businesses entering the Southeast Asia market? So for this is a single choice. And we again have a few options. This time it's not limited to HR related. So there's HR and payroll operations, different legal system, raising capital and funding, unique business culture, work pass management, local competition, supply chain risk, and operation risk when hiring staff. So this is a single choice. And I'll just let the rest answer. Oh, okay. So we have all the answers in already. In this case, I'll end the poll and I'll share the results. Right. So it does seem that many of you also agree that the most challenging would probably be the different legal systems, followed by raising capital and work pass management and local competition. So the other three are actually quite evenly split. As for the different legal systems, I think this is something that I explained a little earlier, but I have actually something more to add. So all these are actually general challenges which many of companies have faced when entering Southeast Asia market, because it's a very whole new market. But with the help of PEO or EOR services, it was found that they will actually eliminate some of these challenges or actually manage them better. So the National Association of PEO actually found that businesses grow 7 to 9% faster with PEO, and they experience 10 to 14% lower turnover when using a PEO. At the same time, the PEO services usually would help them manage the legal systems. So this is not something that the companies have to worry about. So I have one last question. I would just like to know, since we spoke about PEO a little, and this is about a PEO webinar, how much do you understand about PEO? So for those of you who understand very well, you have quite a lot of information. Or if you just have an average understanding, very basic understanding of what PEO is, or if you have no idea at all. And I'll just give another 5 seconds for the remaining people to answer. And I'll end the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, so it seems that most of you either have some basic knowledge or have no idea. So that's encouraging to hear, as this webinar series is intended to give a basic information, to provide you with basic information about PEO services and how it can help you. So you'll definitely be able to learn something new today. So I see that most of our audience are in already. So I think it's a good time to start. So once again, welcome everyone to the 5th episode of AYP's webinar series on Southeast Asia business expansion, anytime, anywhere with PEO or EOR. So this is the second webinar series that has been prepared by AYP Group. I'm Clarence, your facilitator for today. So for today's topic, we'll be talking about high-speed entry into Thailand with PEO or EOR, and we'll be covering generally what PEO service is and a look into how it can help you to enter into Thailand. So before we move to today's presentation, I'll just like to quickly clear some housekeeping issues as with most of our webinar sessions. So as a matter of introduction, this webinar series has been prepared by AYP Group, a HR and tax services company with its headquarters in Singapore. So AYP Group is very well positioned with a regional presence that continues to grow in the ASEAN region, particularly across Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, and Hong Kong. So as a disclaimer, this webinar series is intended to share with our audience some basic knowledge on PEO services and how it can help you enter into a country's market. But it's not intended to convey professional advice. However, you may contact AYP Group directly if you are looking for more in-depth information after the session, or you require some tailored advice that is suited for your needs. So as today's focus will be about PEO as well, we will try to avoid sidetracking into unrelated HR issues. But if you have any other questions, for example, like payroll services, you can actually have a look at our previous webinar series on ASEAN payroll. At the end of the session, we will also have a short Q&A. So please use the Q&A feature at any time during the webinar session to ask your questions and to like the questions so that the most popular one appears at the top. You do not have to wait until the end of the presentation to ask your question. The recording of the webinar will also be made available after the session as well. So for those of you who joined halfway or are not quite sure, if you've missed on something, please feel free to revisit the recording. And if any of you are experiencing any technical difficulties, do drop us a note via the chat function. So without further ado, for today's presentation, it has been prepared by our Thailand team. So our speaker is Hosanna, who is our Thailand's team HR and payroll consultant. So Hosanna has over 15 years of experience in handling HR matters in Thailand. So without further ado, I'll hand this over to Hosanna to share with you today's presentation. Thank you for joining us, Hosanna. Hosanna, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the second webinar section on Southeast Asia Business Expansion. I'm Hosanna from Thailand, a human resource and payroll consultant, oversee and direct payroll procedures, ensure compliance with applicable laws and payroll tax obligation. I will be a presenter for today our webinar series and would like to share about high-speed market entry into Thailand, tap into new market quickly and compliantly with our PEO or EOR services. So before we continue for all details, once again, I would like to remind you, should you have any questions during this section, please do not have to stay until the end of presentation. You can use the Q&A feature anytime. As you know, AYP that provide the HR services in the different Asian countries. Now we will share with you more on Thailand PEO services. Let's look at the table content. Beginning with the definition, what is PEO or EOR? How does it work? Benefit of using this service and scope of service. Second, understanding the Thailand contract types, Thailand labor laws, and employee benefits. Third, it will be AYP customer success story. Fourth, the return investment of using a PEO or EOR. So we will start. What is PEO or EOR? If you are considering expanding your business to another country, you may have considered setting up a foreign company in your target location. However, for many companies, there is a more applicable, faster, and less stressful way of hiring employees in a complex manner in another country. The solution is using a professional employer organization or employer of record. PEO or EOR is the company that meaning human resource or outsourcing. We become too responsible for the HR related functions. Next, how does PEO work? A professional employer organization is a business model as a partnership. That one PEO is AYP. We handle the HR services, payroll and benefit administration. For the example, monthly payroll processing, related salary, reimbursement, and handle employee tax, Social Security Contribution Fund, and Provident Fund, employer and legal compliance. In the meantime, your company can continue to demanded direction, employee compensation, and conduct the employee permanent review. So for the next, I like to move on and discuss what benefit of using a PEO or EOR. The good of the PEO to be your partner and increasing your organization profitability by allowing company reach out the available HR resource quickly during their expansion into the Asian market. Not to spend so much time dealing with the human and cost saving compared to entity setup, because the PO is formula with the local law, so we can help you to keep a business in compliance. Employer of record, payroll and tax administration, employee benefits and administration, HR and compliance, all local labor laws and regulations. Our PO responsible for this to help you to focus on the operation and increase the productivity, and also increase your organization profitability as well. Next, we will move to scope of service. AYP take on the following responsibility with a smooth transition: drafting and maintaining complex employment contract, providing a local group health insurance, travel, and individual insurance onboarding process, managing all payroll, salary payment, tax, and statutory contributions, staying updated on local labor law and regulations, managing and recording of employee benefits, providing ongoing day-to-day HR support. And for the next point, I would like to share about Thailand contract types, labor laws, and employee benefits. So, the employment contract under the labor law can be divided into two types. First, indefinite term employment contract or permanent. The employment contract with no fixed term or not specify the end date of the contract. This employment contract will be terminated by either the employer or employee. Employee on this contract is entitled to the full range of employment rights. Second, fixed term contract or temporary. The employment contract that agreed by either the employer or employee to have a definite employment period. A set end date, example, 6 months or 1 year. It will terminate itself when expire. An employer shall employ an employee the age starting 18 years old, following by the labor law. Let's move to the next one for Thailand labor law. The Labor Protection Act first edition is 1998, as amended by the Labor Protection Act latest version in 2020. Working hour. Employer shall notify a normal working time to the employee by specifying the commencing and ending time of work in each day of the employee. The normal working hour shall not over 8 hours per day or not exceed 48 hours per week, following by the labor law. Overtime. Employer shall not require the employee to work overtime unless the employee is consent, and overtime hour in the normal working day and combined the holiday per week shall not more than 36 hours following by the laborer. In the case of overtime, that is not less than 2 hours from the normal working day, the employer shall provide a rest time to the employee for not less than 20 minutes before the employee starts working overtime. Weekly holiday. Employer shall provide a weekly holiday for not less than 1 day a week. Social Security Fund. The employer is responsible to deduct the Social Security Fund of the employee and contribute the part of employer correctly at the rate specified by the law. So, the contribution rate of employer and employee is 5% per month, calculated from the basic salary, and shall be filing and submit the document within 15 in the next following month. Tax income. Employer is responsible for the income tax deduction of the employee and submit to the revenue department at the rate specified by the law. The employer shall be filing and submit the document within 7 in the next following month. Advance notice. In case of the employer wants to terminate the employment contract, the employer must give an advance notice to the employee at least one period of salary pay to avoid paying 1 month advance notice of basic salary. Let's move to the employee benefits. The first one is leave entitlement. As the labor law, the employee will be entitled for annual holiday. Employee who has worked complete 1 year is entitled to annual holiday for 6 working days for 1 year. In the following years, the employer may give the annual holiday to the employee of more than 6 working days. The employer and employee may agree in advance to accumulate and postpone any annual holiday that has not yet been taken in a year to be included in the following year. Leave of necessary. Employee shall be entitled to leave for the necessary business of paid for 3 days in a year, according in the labor law. Sick leave. Employee is entitled to sick leave as long as employee is actually sick. For sick leave of 3 days or more, the employer may require the employee to produce a medical certificate. Employee is entitled to sick leave of pay for 30 days per year. Leave for military service. Employee shall be entitled to leave for military service of pay for 60 days per year. Traditional holidays. Employer shall announce not less than 13 traditional holidays per year in advance for employees, including National Labor Day as specified by the minister. Leave for sterilization. Employee shall be entitled to leave for sterilization and leave as a result of sterilization for a period determined and with a medical certificate. Maternity leave. A female employee who is pregnant shall be entitled to maternity leave for not more than 90 days for each pregnancy. Okay, let's move to the next employee benefits. We will talk about payment of overtime work. For Thailand, overtime rate divided into 4 types. Overtime rate 1.5 times for the employee who work after the normal working hour in the normal working day. And for the employees who work in the normal working hour in the public holiday or workly holiday will be paid overtime rate 2 times for the it will be paid overtime rate 2 times for part-time employee and will be paid 1 time for permanent employee. And the overtime rate 3 times will be paid to the employee who work after normal working hour in the public holiday or weekly holiday. The next one of employee benefits that we will talk is termination and severance pay. The employee whose employer have canceled their employment contract will receive the severance pay in accordance with the following labor law. Okay, so employees who have worked since 120 days but not more than 1 year and have canceled the employment contract by the employer, the employee entitled to receive the severance pay for 30 days of basic wage. For the employee who have service year since 1 year but less than 3 years, the severance pay is 90 days of basic wage. The service year since 3 years but less than 6 years, the severance pay will be 180 days of basic wage. The service year since 6 years but less than 10 years, the severance pay is 240 days of basic wage. The severance pay since 10 years but less than 20 years, the severance pay is 300 days of basic wage. And the last one, the service year since 20 years up, the severance pay is 400 days of basic wage. And for the severance pay is that employee eligible for receipt is the basic wage including the fixed allowance. The next employee benefits will receive from the Social Security Department. Social Security entitlement is illness benefit. In case of general illness, employee can get the free treatment at the selected hospital on the date of registration with the Social Security Department. Disability benefit. Employee is entitled to receive the compensation for lack of income. In the case of serious disability, will receive a 50% of basic wage bi-monthly for life. In the case of mild disability, will receive compensation for lack of income in accordance with the criteria and period specified in the notification. And receive the medical fees. In case of outpatient in the government hospital, the Social Security Fund will be paid as the extra payment. For in case of outpatient in the private hospital, the Social Security Fund will be paid as the actual payment, but not over 2,000 Thai baht per month. Childbirth reimbursement. Entitled to receive the reimbursement claim as actual receipt bill, but not over 13,000 Thai baht for each pregnancy. And eligible to receive compensation of maternity leave at a rate of 50% of the basic salary for a period of 90 days. Calculate from a basic salary, but not more than 15,000 Thai baht. Owned age allowance. It will be divided into two cases. The first one for one-time payment or lump sum payment. The second, monthly payment. This classified by the contribution payment period. In case of death, the cost of funeral management at 40,000 Thai baht, which is paid to who responsible funeral manager. Unemployment. Employee entitled to receive the benefit of unemployment divided two cases. First, in the case of contract cancellation by the employer, employee entitled to receive unemployment compensation not more than 180 days per year at the rate of 50% of actual salary, but not more than 15,000 Thai baht. Second, in the case of employee resigns or the contract ends, employee entitled to receive the unemployment compensation not more than 90 days per year at the rate 30% of the basic salary, but not more than 15,000 as well. Child allowance. The employee is entitled to a child allowance of 600 Thai baht per month of each child, and the child must be aged from birth but not over than 6 years, and maximum is 3 children at a time. The next employee benefits is Provident Fund. Provident Fund will be effective on the first day of starting the employment contract following by the AYP policy. At the time when was AYP Thailand setting up with the fund management, and contribute by both employee and company. In accordance the employment provident fund requirement. For the employer contributions capped at the 5% in the first 5 years, and will be increased as the employee service year. The employer contribution maximum is 15%. For the employee, contribution rate starting from 2% until 15%. This will be specified by the employee in the fund application form. Employee will receive on contribution fund and will receive employer contribution funds when the employment contract is end. So the next one, we will talk about AYP customer success story. We have PEO partner that serve client worldwide, has been with us for 2 years. So AYP work and support between client and employee, and also AYP provide support to the both sides in case of concern. AYP relieve the concern for both, has been accepted by the client for our high levels of customer service, accuracy of payroll processing, and pay on time, statutory submission on time, such as Social Security Fund, tax, and the Provident Fund. Update the labor laws. And the next one has been accepted by the employees for high levels of support. Government claims such as unemployment, medical claim, insurance reimbursement claim, Just Talent portal for e-claim and e-leave. So for the last content that we will talk is the return investment of using PEO or EOR. Based on a 2019 research report by Rory Bassi and Dan McMorrow, the annual return on investment from using a PEO at 27.2%. The 27.2% that make is based on calculating cost saving for the PEO client in the following by the HR related areas: HR personal costs, health benefit, worker compensation, unemployment insurance, another external expenditure like payroll services, tax reporting. And for our PEO or EOR, also can help you achieve the revenue growth and profitability. So that's the end of the term today. If you would like to know more the details about our PEO services, please contact us at th@aypgroup.com or visit our website www.aypgroup.com or www.justtalent.com, or you can call us in the hotline. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good day.
Well, thank you for the presentation, Hosanna. I hope that everyone has gotten some takeaways from the presentation. So we actually had a number of questions that came in during the presentation that we have yet to answer. And as you may have noted, while we have answered some questions during the presentation, we also tried to get some of the generic questions that we thought our audience may benefit from learning the answer to, so that we can share it with everyone. So for the next part of the session, we'll be taking and answering questions. And we have Hosanna with us here. So thanks for joining us, Hosanna.
Oh, thank you.
Right, so on to the first question. A member of the audience would like to know, how do you work with their candidates during onboarding process?
Okay. Okay, thank you for questions. For the first step, AYP will send the onboarding template to the client to select the employee data, and after AYP when AYP receive, and we will prepare the draft employment contract and send to the client to review before release to the employee. Once AYP receive the confirmation, once AYP receive the signed employment contract, we'll again send to client to reference. And in the meantime, AYP will contact with the employee for the orientation about the employee benefits like insurance coverage or reimbursement or claim, and Just Talent portal, and another related like for employee benefit. And also we will request the additional document from the client, from the employee, like ID card copy or account number for the transfer the salary. Yes.
I see. Well, thank you for the answer. If I may just summarize quickly. So basically, there'll be an onboarding template to be sent for collecting the employee data, after which
Yes.
there's the contract that has to be prepared and reviewed and signed.
Mm-hmm.
And thereafter, AYP will contact the employer for orientation about the employee, during which, of course, you will sort out all the details, for example, insurance, reimbursement claims, etc.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's just a quick summary of the process. Well, thank you for that, Hosanna. So I'll just move on to the next question then. One of the audience would actually like to know whether an employer can change the employment contract of an employee from a temporary to a permanent contract. That's the first part. And then the second part is, and can the start date be continuous?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Yes, sure, I can be changed. Once AYP got the confirmation from the client to change the type of employment contract for the employee, we will prepare an addendum to contract for the employee to change the type of contract, employment contract. But before we release to the employee, also, we have to send to the client to review first. After got the confirmation, then we will send to the employee to sign. Yes.
I see. So the short answer is yes. And of course, there's the explanation that Hosanna given, as well as the need to prepare addendum to the contract after that.
Yes.
Well, thank you for that, Hosanna. So I think that sufficiently answers the question. So I'll move on to the third question. So in this case, one of the member would like to know if an employer wants to terminate the employee contract, what is the notification period?
The employer, if the employer want to terminate the employment contract, the employer must give the advance notice to the employee at least one period of salary pay. Like, let example, like if the salary pay there every 25th of the month, the employer once cancel the employment contract effective like 1st August, the employer shall notify given by 25th June by allowing employee to work another month in July. Yeah, and where the employer fail in disinform or not give the advance notice to the employer shall pay a special severance pay. We call like advance notice for 1 month of salary. Yeah.
I see. Right. So the short answer is one period of salary pay, and you provide us with an example of how it works. Well, thanks for that, Hosanna. All right. So I have a question that actually is quite common that people ask across the other sessions as well. So in this case, for Thailand, one of the audience would like to know what are the available insurance in Thailand.
Okay, thank you for these questions. The insurance available in Thailand for the AYP. Under the AYP, we have the group health insurance for the employee and also group health insurance for dependent, yeah, and travel insurance. And the last insurance is individual insurance, also have for employee and dependent as well.
I see. Thank you for that. So there are 5 insurance I see, and you've given us the example of what the insurance are. But unfortunately, what I want to elaborate, I noticed that we are running out of time. So at the same time, I know that there are some questions that are unanswered. So unfortunately, we'll have to come to the end of the session. Thanks so much for answering that, Hosanna.
Thank you.
For the rest of you, well, while it's unfortunate that we have to come to an end due to the time limit, please rest assured, as what we'll do is that we'll categorize the questions and we'll follow up with an email later. And for those of you who join halfway, don't worry, we'll be releasing the recording of the session as well. So please do take a look at it for any part you've missed. For those of you who might have other questions or queries that you may have, or if you'd just like to know how PEO services can help you, you can also email us at the email we've provided. So thank you for sitting through this session with us, and we hope that it has provided you with some insights on how you can enter Thailand using PEO or EOR services. If you enjoyed the session today, please feel free to join our next webinar session of the series scheduled on 9 July, 4 p.m. for Vietnam. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at our next episode. Thank you, Hosanna. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone.